Okay, so with the help of some errata, which luckily is posted right on Board Game Geek and it comes from Consim World, most of my rules questions have been resolved. Uh, the rules are still bad, but there are still a couple that are not by the errata. In particular, one that I just saw over here on these player aid cards, and my God, the print is so tiny on these. Um, it states an exact opposite of the rules, which is that out of supply units give a bonus to the enemy in terms of initiative. In the rules, they give a bonus to the person who's out of supply, which obviously seemed foolish. But the other one, which is less clear, is the rules say that a player gets a +1 if they're retreating, and the card says that the enemy gets that +1. I don't know which way it's supposed to be, so I look in the example that's given, because in badly written rules, sometimes the example gives you a hint, and there they don't calculate it in at all. It's very clear that they just use the other values. And given that they got the example wrong elsewhere, which is noted in the errata, that's an issue. Okay, let's look at the situation though, because I'm ready to play, and I think what I'm going to do is just run it with the, I don't know, I'll figure out as I go. But the starting situation has Oda fairly consolidated with ownership of Kyoto and a strong area around that in the center. He's reached out to attack against who are these? The Asakura clan, but has just been stabbed by the Akai clan. And this is the situation we saw over, if you're following my games, in Samurai. I think it's the third battle, I don't remember which one, but where Oda is fighting against those two clans. Now, normally you would think, okay, it looks to me like Oda's got enough troops he could just swing in and smash something. But his supply lines are threatened. He can't just march into the Akai territory and attack it. That's actually forbidden by the rules on the first turn. And on the second turn of the game, we're going to see a revolution of monks here, and he knows about that in advance. So the suggestion in the play is that he try to withdraw from that position somewhat. I think at the very least he does have to get somebody besieging that into position to besiege that temple. I'm going to probably start playing pretty soon. In terms of options, I'm not going to play with Good Fortune. And I think I'm going to skip the original method of determining replacement points for the game and go with the more modern version, or the version for the multi-man, which relies on these parenthesized numbers up here. It really looks like it's too much effort to count up all the spaces, which is what the original system used. So I think that'll be a little easier. I think that's about it. We're going to start it. Should be a fun game, I guess. I mean, it looks like it's a good game underneath it all. It's just the rules. Wow. All right. Let me add to what I had before. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play the full campaign game, but there's 3 stopping points to the game that are possible. At the end of turn 10, the Oda player wins if they currently hold 6 or more of the level 2 castles at the beginning of the game. At the beginning of the game, they have 4 of them. They're going to lose this one on turn 2. And there aren't a lot of others kicking around in their nearby area. They got one here. There's one here and one here by the Ikoiki. And then there's a neutrals one nearby as well. And that's it. So they might have trouble hitting that value. At the end of turn 30, which is the standard game, whoever owns Kyoto wins. And then finally for the campaign game, it just ends if both the prime Oda and his son Nobunaga and Nobutada are both dead, or if Nobunaga dies in battle. He doesn't start getting sick until turn 30. Leaders who are fairly old can die, which is really cool because you want the Takeda to be able to just die of illness or whatever. Okay, so what happened in the first pulse? Oda always gets the first turn in the game. That's his little activation chit. Chit pull is the big issue here. There's an end of turn chit in there, which means turns can end at any time. So what happens with Oda? Well, he got a big 6 for a movement roll. He failed on his negotiations trying to convince enemy soldiers to join his side. That one Asakura. 6 allowed him to pull back his troops. He could have pulled everything back to Mount... what is that called? Mount High. He could have pulled everything back there. That's where his supply line is going to be in trouble, but there's no real reason to. So, there goes my hand. He left a couple units to garrison the fortress. That's the most he can leave there. And he left a bunch of units in the waypoint, as many as will survive there, with the thought that the extra movement would be useful for pulling the Tokugawa into place to attack the Akai. The Akai... Asakura coalition drew the next chit, and they moved pretty much all of their forces into the castle that Oda withdrew from. They conducted a siege, got a little lucky, and ended up taking it. By taking a space that they didn't own before, even if it's a home area for the Asakura, they got an event card, which, unlike CDGs or something, there's no hand limit here. You just collect your cards, and there's also no the discards never get reshuffled. We'll see how that works out. I'm worried that at the end of, once you go well over 30 turns, things might get kind of interesting there where there's no cards left or something. It also means that leaders only switch sides once, I think. We'll see. I haven't looked at the cards too carefully. I like to be surprised by them.